Now, one of the first things that the Skomokio government did when COVID hit in 2020 was to bail out two private companies, the Airlines, Qantas and Virgin Australia. Privatise the profit and socialise the losses. It's an article of faith in the creed of neoliberalism. It is rarely questioned. This week, we see Rex Airlines hit the wall. Voluntary administration. Time to carve it up for fees. And the test is on again for the government response. There are 850 jobs at stake. Now, like our colleague Rex Patrick, who has voiced similar concerns online, we reckon the government should take a stake in the airline. Not money for nothing. Recapitalise it and sell the stake later, float it back on the ASX for a profit. Why not? Keep the bastards honest in the meantime by providing a government-backed airline where the jobs have been secured, as have the routes for customers, rather than simply splashing money on private investors. You see, the problem here is that airlines like electricity and water, well, electricity particularly, these are essential services. And so we need functioning airlines like we need functioning electricity companies. And if Rex goes, if the airline goes down, and there is no third player in domestic aviation to keep Qantas and Virgin honest, fares go up for all customers as the duopoly profiteers. Ergo, it's bad for consumers and bad for the economy. But you can see the problem, right? Putting public money on the line to save private interests is what the most likely outcome here will be, because of an intense lobbying effort to get cash for nothing, to get our cash, our public cash for nothing. A bailout merely helps shareholders who are meant to be shareholders because they're meant to take risk. That's what shareholders are about, taking risk that things will go up or down if you're a short, not gifting public money when an investment fails. But the free marketeers, the faux free marketeers of the duopoly media, the hypocrites of big business, don't really believe in free markets or capitalism. They believe in crony capitalism. They believe that they should espouse corporate welfare when it is warranted for their advertisers, like spending a couple of $100 billion on Peter Dutton's nuclear brain explosion. Yes, that's what they're saying. Put the public money on the line for Liberal Party policy. They believe in free markets when and only when it suits them. So who knows? Did the government spend $5 billion bailing out Qantas and Virgin? With JobKeeper and the raft of other handouts, the figure is in that stratosphere, say $3 billion for JobKeeper, another $2 billion in other aviation, and there were quite a few of them subsidies. Now, we could have bought this thing. We could have nationalised these airlines and floated them later for a big profit, having had the government intervene, but we decided not to because of neoliberalism, privatisation. If our lawmakers were peering at the trees as well as the forest, they would have had to come to the conclusion that privatisation is a failure in general. Not in every case. They privatised the Manly ferry service. They pitted a private fast ferry operator up against the government thing, and we use both, and they're both good. They provide competition. But if you just look at electricity, where the nosebleed prices have cost every single person and company in this economy, except the energy producers. Before privatisation, electricity prices used to go up in line more or less with CPI. The bloke in the grey cardigan that ran the state-based enterprise would trudge up the street to Senate estimates and explain why electricity prices went up 3.7% when CPI was only 3%. Now we're looking at double-digit rises and Australian electricity assets held in tax havens. The ridiculous happened, and privatisation sent prices skyrocketing. Bizarre outcomes everywhere there were. If you look at Energy Australia, for instance, one of the three big gentailers in this market, this went to be controlled, and these guys hold generation assets, coal and gas, they wind and solar as well, distribution. They were re-domiciled to be controlled by a company called Energy Australia also, but in the BVI, yes, the British Virgin Islands tax haven, ultimately controlled by a Chinese billionaire from Hong Kong, resident in London, Michael Kadoorie. That's right, a guy that lives in Mayfair and Deepwater Bay in Hong Kong, all these other houses around the world, controls 1/3 of Australia's electricity market. Li Ka-shing is the other one, another Chinese billionaire that controls another third of it, or close enough. These guys, you can't blame them. These assets were up for auction and the highest bidder won, and then they screwed us on prices. Quite simple, really, but you won't see anything about it anywhere because academia has also been privatised. Privatisation in energy has been a disaster. But where's the Productivity Commission report? Where's the government inquiry into privatisation? Despite the billions in profits raked offshore and a Byzantinely complicated system topped by a captured regulator in AEMO and the AER, and despite soaring energy prices and the bizarre outcome where our market is controlled in tax havens in the Caribbean, where we're moving to buy back our gas from overseas despite being one of the world's biggest gas LNG exporters. Why? Because governments can't stand up to their donors in the gas cartel. Simple as that. Despite all of this, where would one go for an analysis apart from here? Back in the day, you might have gone to a university professor, a once respected voice for an objective comment about the market. You call the professor of finance of whatever grand old university. Who has done the analysis on privatisation? Surely the most worthy of all academic projects. Well, who's done the analysis on the Big Four audit firms? Nobody's done them. Why is that? Because the universities themselves have been corporatised, effectively privatised. That's right. They paid tens of millions of dollars to PwC and the rest to tell them how to run things as a business. And what have we? Sinking academic standards, virtual privatisation, and a dearth of credible analysis because, well, the academics have been pawned. They've been pawned off as consultants. They're compromised, they're privatised, they're captured. They are no longer capable of objective analysis. How great would it be to see a big objective analysis of privatisation of this majestic con, this scam? And so, stand by for an outcome on Rex which services the private sector with public money. Back in the GFC, we warned about this. We warned that allowing our banking sector to be consolidated, the CBA bought Bankwest on the cheap and Westpac bought St George on the cheap, further consolidating the whole sector, fewer players, higher prices, every mortgagee in Australia suffers. Over in the UK, they actually bought the Northern Rock Building Society when, like St George, it was headed for the wall. And they floated it again for a profit. Oh, they intervened in the market and they made a profit for the public. And that's what we should do for Rex. And we should do it for Australia Post. Give them a banking licence, make them compete against the privates. A housing corporation, compete against the privates. Keep them honest. Axe the management, wipe out the shareholders, kick it into shape, keep the aviation market going, keep 3 players in there and resell the thing on the ASX. The COVID response in Germany was to lend money to Lufthansa, not just give money to Lufthansa. And the airline paid the money back at minimal loss to shareholders, at minimal loss rather to taxpayers and the public. Here in Australia, we just give them cash. Here, have some lovely cash, because that's what our investment bankers and lawyers are telling us. And why are they telling us this? Because they make more fees from a complicated situation. So now we have Rex, involuntary administration, with EY, yes, one of the Big Four, as the administrator, charging like a wounded bull, no doubt. Those figures will come out at some point. This article of faith, privatisation, has to be looked at. The cold, hard facts need to be looked at. Just look at energy, controlled by Chinese billionaires that have been profiteering from every single Australian. Like, share, or comment in the space below, and throw us a few bucks on Patreon if you can afford it. And thank you very much for your support.